Let me introduce our guest speaker and the topic of this lecture. So our guest speaker is Dr. Adebayo Felix Adekoya, and his presentation topic is Business Sustainability and Data Analytics. Dr. Adekoya is Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Informatics at the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Sunyani, Ghana, where he has served as a dean and as acting pro-vice chancellor. He is a Chartered Information Technology Professional, CITP, and an expert in artificial intelligence, software engineering, learning analytics, electronic commerce. His research interests include climate informatics, energy informatics, business informatics, and health informatics. Dr. Adekoya was invited by the dean, Dr. Hayton, to give this lecture. During his conversation with Dr. Hayton, he expressed interest in involving himself in the consciously based education at MIU. Now, here's the schedule for today. Our guest speaker will have 25 minutes presentation, followed by a discussion and a mini lecture by Dr. Maheshwari for 15 minutes. Dr. Maheshwari, everybody's familiar with him. He's our data mining professor, and he has led the international conference for the consciousness-based education in leadership. So after the discussion, we will have 15 minutes question and answer. Okay, now whenever you want me to move to the next slide, just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Professor Annie. Good day to everyone in the house. As it has been mentioned, my name is Adebayo Felix Adekoya from the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Sunyani, Ghana. I want to appreciate the university and Professor Eaton for inviting me to do this presentation. This morning, I'm going to talk about using data analytics for ensuring business sustainability in organizations. Please, you can move to the next slide. Briefly, I will introduce the topic with the need for businesses to depend on resources and the fact that these resources are being tapped without consideration for sustainability. Please, you can move to the next slide. So we all know that all businesses, whether manufacturing or service businesses, where we focus on the need for socioeconomic development, we definitely have to agree that the businesses depend on availability of raw materials. And these raw materials can be from the renewable resources, such as forestry, such as fisheries, such as water, and so on and so forth, even the sun, to the non-renewable resources, which mostly forms from the energy, from oil, from natural gas, from minerals like bauxite, like gold, and diamonds, and so on and so forth. Please, you can move to the next slide.
Okay, 1 second. Sometimes when I use the full screen, and it will get stuck. So I will not use the full screen this time. I will continue with the sidebar vision. If it's too small, I will make it bigger. So can everybody see this? See the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
So the issue is that the dependency on the natural resources is good, but in terms of the exploitation, the exploration, no, people are not giving him, attention to the sustainability of these natural resources. And the United Nations came out to look at the fact that we need to pay attention to sustainability. Please, I am being disturbed by those who are joining the meeting, so I don't know how we can control the prompt from showing on the screen.
I will click admit, so don't worry about that. You just concentrate on your presentation. So
Okay.
Do you want me to move to the next slide?
Just hold on, please.
Okay, hold on.
I just want to say that if we don't pay attention to how the resources are being exploited, then what we are currently witnessing in terms of climate change, in terms of conflicts here and there, unemployment will continue to increase to the point that we'll not be able to manage the situation. So please, you can move to the next slide. So businesses now must start to think about sustainability, which is a goal, is an objective, that is the ability to exist and develop without depleting natural resources to the point where it will impact future generations. As we explore the natural resources, we must think about the future generations having access to these natural resources. And to achieve this, the United Nations have come out with 17 sustainable development goals, which businesses must also think about as we exploit the natural resources. Please, you can move ahead. So the second part of the discussion will focus on business sustainability and how business management would manage businesses with sustainability development goals in mind. So the next slide.
So that's just his.
No, hold on. Yeah.
Thank you. So sustainability in business refers to the adoption of sustainable development principles and practices by business firms. We must, first of all, recognize the fact that when we talk about sustainable development, we are talking about having access to natural resources with minimal impacts on the environment, on the society, and on the economy. So when we talk about business sustainability, we are also talking about the fact that, yes, we want to adopt sustainable development principles and practices with the aim of doing business which has minimal negative impacts and a positive effect on the environment, society, and the economy. Please, next slide. So as we explore the natural resources, businesses must pay firm commitment to sustainable development goals. Business decisions must be made with regards to sustainable principles. Producers and promoters, promote environmental friendly products and services. We must promote conservation of natural resources, energy, and green business transactions. Then businesses must operate using eco-friendly infrastructure and production technology. I must say here that one particular area which has been the focus has to do with recycling of waste to energy. In my university, we have a project going on waste to energy. Another project we have on the issue of e-mobility. I know there are some companies that are pioneering the issue of e-mobility. Of reference is the Tesla car, for example. So please, you can move ahead. So some key sustainable business management goals include value delivery. As we want to promote business sustainability, we must think of the values that we are creating and how best to deliver this value. And another thing is that we must ensure that our customers have good experience as they transact business with us, not just the fact that we want to push out the product and services to customers, but the fact that we want customers to enjoy patronizing our businesses. Likewise, of course, sustainability management goals involve the fact that we want to be customer-centric. We want to find out how best to serve the customer, what the customer actually needs for us to meet their satisfaction. And of course, we must also think about the fact that how do we generate new ideas to ensure that the products we are bringing up, they meet the needs for sustainable development. And of course, to do this, every hands must be on deck. It means that every idea, every decision must be owned by everyone working in the organization, from the bottom to the top echelon of the organization. Of course, doing this, we must ensure energy conservation as we operate. Next slide, please. So this takes us to the third and possibly the final part of the presentation, where we want to look at a case study in terms of energy data analytics. We know that, pardon me, please, can you move ahead, please? Please, can you move ahead, please? Next slide. We know data analytics is something that is not new to most people now. Is trending, which is just the science of analyzing business transaction data that are already existing in the business databases with the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning, so that we want to learn from the data. We want to derive knowledge from the data for us to make informed business decisions and so on and so forth. So organizations that do not start to use data analytics might be left behind in terms of business innovations and product development. Please, next slide. So there are four types of business, data analytics that organizations can leverage on. That is descriptive data analytics, to find out some basic questions in terms of how many products were sold over a certain period of time, when certain things occur, where and what, and so on and so forth, to predicting causes, predicting correlations of events, and identifying trends. Also to predict outcomes and identify what actions to take using prescriptive data analytics, and also examining data to understand the cause and effects of why things happened, why particular customers are buying certain products, buying certain items, why people are saying certain things regarding certain policies in the social media and so on and so forth. So we depend on diagnostic data analytical tools in that respect. So to please, we can move to the next slide. So we know that businesses depend extensively on energy, whether for production or for services, as well as residential or domestic user depends on energy. And therefore, we must, as businesses, think of how we can provide models for energy consumption, so that it will be able to balance things up without contributing to the environmental decay depletion of resources. So businesses must start to think of how do we understand the heat balance when we design our buildings, maybe factory buildings, offices. How do we ensure that we have the heat balance? How do we ensure that we manage the consumption to the extent that other people will also have energy to use? Of course, we also must think of energy efficiency. Okay, what are the best energy saving options? What are the best cost saving options? And what are the best carbon reduction options? And of course, we must also think about how to verify and validate the sizing of heating and cooling system, and also how to reduce energy consumptions and improve thermal comfort. Please, next slide. So scholars have developed the framework for energy informatics model, which basically address the energy utilization and management challenges.
Dr. Adekoya, can you speak a little bit louder? Your voice is fading out.
He received a call. Since he is on his phone, that might be the reason why. I have a feeling he's getting right back on.
Okay. Prof, can you come again?
Hello?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just carry on. Just carry on. That's fine.
Okay.
Is everything fine, please?
Hold on. Okay.
Please, can you hear me, please?
I got to share the screen again.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please
can you
carry
hear
on.
me, please?
Yes. Carry on.
Yes. Just speak louder and I will reshare your slides. And because sometimes when I use the full mode presentation, the slide like to get stuck. So let's continue. You are talking about the case study.
Oh, yes. So this is where I was, and I said that energy informatics framework have been developed by scholars, notably Richard Watson. And energy informatics is about collection and analysis of energy data sets to support optimization of energy distribution and consumption networks. The aim here is to reduce energy consumption through the use of information systems with the intent of advancing environmental sustainability. Please, next slide. So for businesses, next slide, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the energy informatics framework consists of 3 sub domain, which is the sensor network and the flow network on the part of on the side of the supplier, and also the semitized objects on the side of the demand. So this forms the energy information systems, and they have used the general business model using the business modeling canvas to develop a framework for energy business modeling in terms of considering the stakeholders' interest on asking questions about how to make key decisions, and also about how to create values in terms of the energy and so on and so forth. So this is the energy business model that has been developed by Watson and Co. Please, next slide.
Okay. So I have to juggle between the balance between the small size and full screen. Okay.
Sorry,
Let's
please.
see.
Okay, thank you. So from this interest, if you look at the energy informatics framework, you will discover that we have two sides. That is the supply side for those producing energy, and also the demand side for those consuming energy. And on the part of the demand side, we can basically categorize them into two main groups. That is the industrial consumers and the domestic consumers, which we refer to as residential consumers. So my team carried out a systematic literature review to look at the trend in data analytics for residential and domestic industrial consumers. So we set out to identify please, I'm on the paper now, paper one.
Hello?
Hello, please, can you hear me? I'm on
Yes,
paper one.
now I can hear you.
Thank you.
Do you want me move to the next slide, or you're still on the case study, energy modeling and informatics?
I'm on the systematic literature review of electricity load forecasting.
Okay, here, yes.
So we set out in this paper to examine the various machine learning algorithms that are being used by the data analytics researchers in the various industries, the academic environment. So in this study, we beg your pardon, please. I'm trying to, the screen is small for me. So we try to do a comprehensive and detailed assessment of the state-of-the-art studies on electricity demand forecasting, using methods, time frame, and we also try to train and test split of data, error and accuracy metrics that are being applied to forecast. We present a concise summary of the useful characteristics of compared techniques in electric load forecasting, and we also identify the challenges and opportunities for further studies in electricity load forecasting. We collected a total of 81 journal articles, conferences, magazine, and student theses relevant to the scope of the studies, which we downloaded from the internet using keywords such as AI, electricity prediction, energy forecasting, machine learning, and combination of these keywords. The downloaded literature was then carefully studied and categorized into two methods of electrical load forecasting, data-driven artificial intelligence methods and engineering methods. We divided the study into two traditional modeling methods and data and machine learning methods. So for this presentation, we focus on the machine learning method. So we use the Prisma model to do the systematic literature review. Electrical energy, like I have said, consumption can be classified as residential for domestic purposes and commercial for industrial purposes. Then the selected literature on electrical load forecasting were classified into two main methods, AI methods and engineering methods. However, each category was further grouped into residential and commercial or combined, and the outcomes are as presented. A total of 77 papers were eligible. After we have screened out the paper, we got 67 papers, which we included in our quantitative analysis. So on the graph there, you see the number of the various machine learning techniques that are being used for forecasting electricity demand in the industry. Then the second graph shows the error metrics for the various researches that have been done by these scholars. So you see the errors that the MAPE and the RMSE, they are more of in terms of errors, they generate more accuracy level than the other two. So what we have been able to do in this particular study is to we obtain the fact that there is global increase in residential electricity demand, possibly as a result of the various devices that are being produced and which homes are purchasing. And we also observe that little attention has been paid to electricity load forecasting in residential sector, especially on the part of the African side. So next slide, please.
Dr. Adekoya, we have limited time, and I will move to the next slide, and then we can move faster from now on. Thank you.
Thank you. So the second paper is on forecasting electricity consumption of residential users based on lifestyles data using artificial neural networks. This paper is different from the first paper. The first paper is on systematic illustration review, where we wanted to find out what is happening in terms of forecasting of electricity load. But in this paper, we want to identify which lifestyle is the high predictor of residential electricity consumption. We proposed a machine learning framework to predict future residential electricity consumption based on household lifestyle data. We tried to measure the performance of the proposed model against other state-of-the-art model based on accuracy and the error metrics. We identify some social factors that significantly influence the residential electricity consumption and predict future electricity consumption using ANN based on lifestyle data collected from 350 households in Sunyani municipality in Ghana. And the table 1 there present the household distribution in the various communities in Sunyani municipality. And then the proposed ANN framework is shown on the screen, where we have the multi-layer backpropagation ANN framework. And the result obtained after the work, we actually try to model this lifestyle data based before feature selection and after feature selection. But because of time and space constraint, I'm presenting the result we obtained after the feature selection. And we can see that the model perform better than the traditional decision trees and the support factors analysis. So in this paper, we concluded that the ANN-based feature selection technique perform better than the traditional decision tree and the support factor. And we were able to obtain empirical comparison of the proposed ANN model with other state-of-the-art forecast model. Next slide. Just to wrap up, the fact that businesses must think about sustainability, and the fact that business sustainability requires sustained attention and intention. I must say that there is a close relation between sustainability and consciousness. And that means that if we want to ensure business sustainability, it must be done in a conscious manner. And therefore, it means that it must be done intentionally. It must be purposely driven, and then progressively. That means that at every time, at every point in time, business managers must be conscious of the fact that we are now talking about depletion of natural resources. We are talking about bringing products that do not constitute problems to the nature. And therefore, we must continuously measure impact of our business on the environment, on the society, and on the economy. And as we do this, we must plan for growth and expansion. We must think about product, service, innovation and development, and business value. How can data analytics help us? For example, to measure impact, we can do descriptive analytics, for example. We can do diagnostic analytics, for example. To plan for growth and expansion, definitely we can do some kind of predictive analytics and so on and so forth. So just to wrap up, I want to say that for business sustainability, we need to consciously and progressively promote sustainability practices in our businesses. Thank you for listening, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Doctor. Now our panelist, Dr. Maheshwari, will lead the discussion, and he will also give a very small lecture to us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Adebayo, for joining in, and we appreciate your presenting your thoughts on energy and sustainability and analytics. Thank you, our MIU team, for organizing this. Thank you all the students for joining in and all the faculty for joining in. And in particular, I would thank my BIDM class students for whom this topic is very much what we're discussing in this class. So it's very interesting for them. So thank you all for joining. What I will do is, we had a very interesting presentation, right? In 25-30 minutes, he presented what he means by analytics and what is understood by analytics, and also what is the case study on energy analytics. So let me just highlight some things out of what he said, and then maybe close in with a main points chart that we are all familiar with, connecting back to consciousness. So what are some of the key concepts that I heard? What is energy? Right? Energy is what? Dynamism. Energy is within us, comes from wherever who we are. What is data? Right? Data is anything that's measured, recorded, consumption of something, a production of something. What is analytics? Dr. Adebayo used a lot more of the machine learning example, neural networks, and various kinds of decision trees and other techniques. What is consciousness? Consciousness is the totality of who we are, that's the fact that we are aware that we are unbounded. And Dr. Adebayo used the notion of intention. So intention comes from within us of who we are. We didn't necessarily hear, but I think this notion of purpose. What is the business all about? What are we trying to do? We talked of customer satisfaction, etc. So what is a business? A business is serving a need, right? It's perhaps supplying energy to people and keeping them satisfied. What else did he say? He says serving customers, right? Serving customers, delivering value. I think very first slide he talked about delivering value. What is sustainability? So he brought about sustainability. Sustainability both has the planetary sustainability and the business staying sustainable, that it generates enough profit and resources for it to continue. And finally, this idea of what is customer value? What is the customer value? Now, who is the customer, right? Customer is the one we serve, but that's point someone. We are also the customer. So we need to look at enlightening the customer and making some sense of the notion of what they value and what they should value. So let me just start with this idea of wholeness of data analytics. And you said in some words, but I think this is the BIDM cycle, which is kind of the framework for the way we teach here. BIDM cycle is that says business intelligence and data mining are kind of linked. Business intelligence is more business concepts, and data mining is more technology kind of issues, or not issues, technology capabilities. So we say business generates data, right? The energy business, the case study we talked of, generates data about its various consumption, production, etc. And data is then mined to produce insights and intelligence using machine learning, using various techniques, like decision trees, regression, projection, everything else. And that intelligence, the data is mined, and then mining leads to intelligence. That intelligence is some kind of insights or some new patterns, hard patterns, soft patterns, regular patterns, some intelligence that we can have some confidence in that this is how the business is functioning, and which is now then fed back into business, and the business has to have the courage, first of all, believes that this intelligence is correct, the insight is worth acting on. And if they agree, then they would take action on it. And if the intelligence was correct and it came from the right consciousness, the right effort, the right data, right, all this cycle was correct, then what happens is that business acts on it and business flourishes, business grows. When business grows, what happens? More data is generated. So that generates more data, which is mined again, more intelligence, business grows. So this is some kind of a sustainable business cycle. That business sustains itself on the data side by tracking what they're doing, how they're doing, and do more of the right thing, and then business grows. Make sense? By the way, students and others, if you feel like posting questions or comments, just do it on the chat box. Appreciate that. So one of the things we see is that data is consumed, data is produced, and data is consumed. Data is consumed by first produced and organized, and then further organized. Then it's mined, which is what we talked about, and then it's visualized. What is visualizing? Visualizing is way of making ready for consumption. Just like energy is consumed, so also data is consumed when it's presented in the right way. Just like energy is not consumed directly, but through some appliances, same way visualization is the way of consuming data and insights. Now, what happens when the data grows, right? When the BIDM cycle, that's what we see in BIDM cycle or analytics, we use the word. When that grows, data grows a lot. When the data grows, it becomes big data. Now, some businesses generate their own data like energy business, but then the other businesses like social media business and Google and Facebook, they have grown so much, Apple, their mobile phones, etc. So because when this business grows, the variety of data grows, right? The data, various kind of form, functions, and the various sources, people data, machine-to-machine data, Internet of Things data. And that leads to huge volume. So this generates what we call big data. And it also generates speed because our data is being produced and consumed or communicated and sometimes even consumed at the speed of light. And when the data is a lot of data is going back and forth on the internet and very fast, there's also multiple qualities of data going in, sort of incomplete data, correct data, misinformation, disinformation. So that's what we get caught up in, sort of a lot of disinformation, especially in the public domain. I think a lot of the business data remains very clean and pure because that's under the control of the organization. But a lot of other data that is being generated by their customers or would-be customers or employees on the social media also becomes relevant to understand the performance of the company. It's not just what the company tells you, customer sales representative, but what they say on social media, what they say on on friends. So this is the idea of big data. And big data is typically 1,000 times more big than the data that a company has within its whole domain. So when they have this big data, let's say, what are the kind of applications we do? And we heard some types of applications. One is the monitoring and tracking of location, consumption, production, etc. So there's a kind of a continuous stream of data coming in from various sources, and we track how much is being produced, how much is being consumed. This is like you have an energy meter somewhere, right? But in your house or in your business, say how much is being consumed, where was it produced, or the carbon sourcing of it. That a lot of the carbon footprint, etc., would be done through analysis inside. Let's say, okay, for the first 6 months, how much was the energy consumed, and then you sort of get action for, okay, these are the better methods for becoming more carbon neutral or carbon negative, stuff like that. And then there's also there's so much data about energy consumption is produced. Data itself can become products. Think of the energy companies selling their data on who's consuming how much and what the trends are. The data itself can become a product out there, which can be used by other companies to combine with other data and create products. For example, if I knew exactly when you consume energy, would you sort of be charged on a per kilowatt differently based on what time of the day you consume? Just like there's also the variable insurance kind of thing based on where you drive, how much you drive. So there are various kinds of products as the data is growing. One is continuous, stream processing. One is batch processing, which we're used to analysis insight, like the Dr. Adebayo described or energy data. But there's also the database product development. So how do we put it all together in terms of our consciousness-based education system? So what is business intelligence? Business intelligence is structuring the consciousness to support business. As you can read these, the business intelligence systems, the kind of charts that you showed Dr. Adebayo towards the end, provides business executives with the right intelligence to run their business efficiently and keep it growing, right? And then, so it's in your knowledge is structured in consciousness. And the more the consciousness is developed, the more knowledge you can handle. You talked of 4 kinds of risk analytics, but let's say broadly, there are 2 kinds of business decisions, strategic and operational. And business intelligence can help with both. But what if analysis of many possible scenarios? It can help with the automation of our the operational level decisions. And like you said, if you don't do it, we will be left behind. In a hyper-competitive world, the speed of decision-making is balanced with calculated risk-taking to build strategic advantage. So risks are calculated using data analytics to calculate the risk of many scenarios. Nature is found in layers. We have layers of decision-making, layers of levels of risk. An ideal business intelligence system provides the right amount of information at the right time to the right decision-making in a secure manner, whether providing information to the customer, what to do, or to the business executive, how much to produce or build capacity, or to the industry, the regulator as to what is the pattern we can have for greenness of the industry, all of that stuff. So establish and self-create effortless action. That's what every executive should get, exactly the same right amount of information for them, not what is called TMI, too much information. That's more is not necessarily good in information. Finally, BI includes tools for this processing of analyzing, the reporting, querying, mining, visualization, all the data processing chain I talked about. Again, nature is found in layers. You think progressively. Connecting the parts of this knowledge, what we talk about data analytics, with the wholeness of knowledge, the knowledge of self, that business intelligence tools make effective decision-making effortless because it comes from a wholeness of knowledge. BI tools enable delivery of the right information to support decision-making. We talked about that at the surface level. But at the software level, the decision maker in their heart finds bliss in effortlessly managing and engaging with the insights of all types. So courage automatically comes because you feel one with the data. You can resonate. Oh, this insight makes sense to capture new opportunities. At the more subtle level, more beneath that level, to the transcendental level, everything is pure knowledge, the field of infinite knowledge in which every action is related to every other. So we don't act randomly and reduce our energy footprint because we have impact on what happens to the energy company and what happens to the warmth of somebody, like in some countries right now energy is short and they could feel bad and feel cold. So impulses within the transcendental field are the impulse of nature that keeps right. So all dynamism and activity, we talked about energy, which is a lot about energy within, which creates impulses, and then that relates to the activity. And at the final level, at the unity level, wholeness, it's all wholeness moving within itself. In unity consciousness, all decisions, all information, all stuff is all the faint glimmers of the self. We are the Brahman and we are everything. And so are you. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time and would appreciate questions from everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Maharvashi. We do have a question here. Let me just post it on the screen so everybody can see it clearly. Question from our student B. Beck said, sustainable business practice is great for the betterment for all humans and the planet as a whole. Is there a legal provision of a penalty and incentives to business based on the adoption sustainable business practices? Which countries are adopting this and how effective are these?
Yeah,
so
I
this
think Dr.
question
Adebayo,
for both of you.
Yeah, Dr. Adebayo, if you were to take it, let's say for your country, what is the sustainable business practice in your country and what is the legal framework around ensuring that those practices are followed beyond sort of the UN sustainable goals?
Thank you. That's very good question. In our country over here, we are working on some legislation in terms of encouraging, um, let me say, sustainability in businesses. For example, in terms of waste management, we have legislation against environmental pollution. Businesses must conform. There is an environmental. Businesses must conform to certain legislation before they can be allowed to continue to operate. For example, in terms of how we preserved our forestry, we have the Forestry Commission, which regulates the planting and harvesting of trees. And of course, we also have the Ghana Mineral Commission, which with the Ghana Mineral Act, which prohibits the indiscrimination of mineral explorations and so on and so forth. I will say that in terms of the social or the economic practices, like the waste management, in my university for now, there is a project that we are starting, which is being financed by the African Development Bank. In some African countries, my university is fortunate to host one of the centers, and that is on how to manage electronic waste and to recycle electronic waste management. Of course, when you talk about incentives, government is yet to come out clearly, like it is being done in Europe, for example. When I was in Germany, you don't go to stores to buy items and then you will demand polythene bags. If you want polythene bags, you have to pay for getting polythene bags to carry your items. So what we have is paper bag. Then if you bring bottles or whatever, I mean, back to the store, they give you some kind of an incentive. So here in Ghana, we are working on creating such incentives. That is what I know that presently we are doing.
Excellent. So that's, I think every country is trying to make progress. And let's go to another student question. I think Brajesh has a question. Hayan, can you put we copied the thing and share the question? So Dr. maybe
Yes.
that's also for Dr. Adebayo.
Thank you. Now we have another question from Brajesh. Hopefully I pronounce your name correctly. Now question is, what kind of AI are used or being developed for electricity prediction and load forecasting, as this is related to dealing with big data? Now, second question is, most sustainable energy is a renewable source like hydropower or solar energy. Choosing a kind of sustainable energy is a decision-making of government more than the business. So he's wondering whether who is making that decision for choosing the energy sources. Now, can you share some progress in the world towards sustainable energy?
Good questions.
So, thank you very much. I think that's another set of good questions which will really help us to make some clarification. If you look at my presentation, in terms of the paper on a systematic literature review on the electricity load forecasting, you will see that some of the machine learning techniques that we are using include the artificial neural networks, the support vector machine, the ARIMA, the random forest decision tree, the LSTM, we are using FUSI, we are using convolutional neural networks, and so on and so forth. So all these are the various machine learning techniques that researchers are using to work on energy forecast models. Of course, I will not say these are limited to the one I have listed. There are some people even coming up with their own models, maybe as a result of identify weakness in certain models and then trying to strengthen the models. Some we try to combine 2 or more models to get better results. So the second question, it says most sustainable energy is renewable source, like the hydropower or solar energy. Choosing a kind of sustainable energy is a decision of government. Yes, I will say this, that in our own setup here, the energy sources are, in terms of electricity, we have hydropower, we have thermal energy dam, but now government is also encouraging this power authority to go towards renewable energy. For example, there is the Bui Power Authority that has just launched about, I think, 500 megawatts of electricity plants. And of course, there are some other private companies that are into the manufacturing of solar energy devices, and they are actually solar energy now is becoming a very big business in Africa, if I must let our audience know, because the hydropower and the thermal energy has not been able to meet the needs of the consumers, whether industrial consumer, commercial consumer, or residential consumer. So government is providing the regulatory environment for both public and private businesses to operate in that climate. Can you share some progress in the world towards sustainable energy? Yes. For now, I don't have the data here, but just as I have said, various countries through the United Nations are making effort to ensure that we have action on sustainable energy production. The United Nations Economic Agent, I think UNECA, have just set up a unit on sustainable development based on big data. So there is a particular unit within the United Nations Economic Community that is working on bringing together the various countries to work on using big data for sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess we don't have, we will leave the time for you guys to communicate after the webinar. And thank you for Dr. Adekoya and Dr. Anil Maheshwari. I always call him Dr. Anil. And we really enjoy this opportunity to learn from you too. And Dr. Adekoya, and you addressed the business intelligence by using those concrete examples of 2 case studies, and Dr. Anil give us a very holistic framework of using those business intelligence to make decisions such as operational decision making and strategic decision making. I'm very impressed by those 4 V's of the big data context. And thank you again for everybody join the class, and have a nice weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Adebayo. Thank you, Song. And we
Yeah.
appreciate all the students who joining the session.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dr. Song,
you.
for your
Bye.
beautiful hosting.